We talked to Lane Johnson today about being the last man standing. We talked to Zack Baun about the turnaround in his career. We also have news about rule proposals. Poor widow Mark Murphy still has a diaper that is very, very full. And we're going to talk to Brendan Quinn for a sicko preview of the NCAA Tournament. A packed show coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show on a Wednesday afternoon. Wulf, Zach, Berman, and Zach. When you were a kid, I mean, this was like New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, the day before the tournament.
Yes, I was one of those kids who would get sick the Thursday of the NCAA tournament. I wouldn't get to see Julia in school because I was watching the 7-10 game.
Yeah, right by Truemark Financial.
That's true. But yeah, I've always loved the NCAA tournament.
We were both lamenting before the show. Oh, the feeling in the newspaper, the full page bracket in the newspaper. Oh, to just unfurl that bad boy and spend like an hour with it.
Yeah, we're showing our age here. Yeah, we're showing our age because also...
If only I could have that now.
You would watch the selection show, but then you wouldn't actually get to fill out the bracket until the next morning. Yeah. Right? So that was the thing. So you saw...
Oh, that newspaper.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So with that in mind, we're gonna bring on DFOP, the great Brendan Quinn, in a little bit to take us through a bit of a Sickos preview for the NCAA tournament. We are once again doing the Sickos bracket contest. Check the link in the description below or on the different social media feeds. Password is pineapple with a capital P. Winner, I think we'll get something. Maybe some PHLY swag. Maybe Zach will write a book about you. We'll figure that out.
I will not write a book about you. Unless you're a member of the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. Like, what if Jalen Hurts wins?
If Jalen Hurts fills it out, yes, that would be nice.
Okay, so we look forward to that. But before that, we have some football news, some real tangible football news for a middle of March Wednesday. We talked to some Eagles. We also have news from around the league. Would you like to start with the rule proposal, Zach, or would you like to start with Zack Baun and Lane Johnson?
Let's start with Lane Johnson.
Okay.
Thumbnail of the show, and I think it's pertinent because
they tell you that it's important to have the thumbnail, like the topic, come up early in the video so people know that you are being honest. That's good for the algorithm. So let's talk Lane Johnson.
Yes. I had a question for you, and so I'll give the quick thing here. We spoke to Lane, and Lane was saying that at this age, you take it year by year, but he feels great. He feels better than he used to, and he hopes to be able to play through the length of his contract, which is through 2027. He spoke about some other topics that will intersperse, but my question to you is this. Having heard this from Lane's mouth today, that this could be 3 more years, like realistically 3 more years, do you still feel that going into the draft, a priority of theirs will be finding a potential Lane Johnson replacement? Or do you think because of that's a long time horizon there, right? Is that, of course, that tackle could play guard, but you could have an Andre Dillard situation too, where the guy's waiting and you don't have the full evaluation of him yet. Do you still have you moved off your opinion, or are you still
not at all? Not at all. A little
bit.
First of all, to think of the Andre Dillard situation as not having worked out because he had to wait a long time is wrong. He didn't work out because he wasn't a good player.
No, but they didn't know. Like, that's the thing. They didn't have a full evaluation of him.
Yeah,
yet.
but if Andre Dillard was Jordan Mailata, they would have found a way to play.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like he would have been on the field.
Fair.
And there is an open spot in the starting lineup where a player who, could be Lane Johnson's replacement can start right now at right guard. And yes, I mean, Lord knows I'm not going to doubt Lane Johnson. He's a Hall of Fame player. Mm-hmm. If he is able to play 3 more years, he will play 3 more years. But he is also 35 years old. Stuff creeps up. He may not be, whether he wants to play 3 years or not, he may not be able to. And so the Eagles, knowing the importance of that position, I think they are still very much focused on figuring out what the long-term plan is there.
And concurrent with this, by the way, we should add that Fred Johnson departing for the Jacksonville
Yes.
Jaguars. So the Eagles do have a need here at swing tackle, which is a position that historically has been valuable for them. They won a Super Bowl in 2017 with their swing tackle as their starting left tackle.
Yes. And so do you think they feel like Darian Kennard can do that?
I know they were bullish on Darian Kennard's development. Interestingly, when I was looking at Kenyon Green in The Beast, Dane Brugler, which is probably the second best draft guide that I read behind Fran Duffy's. But he had Kennard, I believe, is the number 3 guard in the draft that year.
Kennard the guard.
After Kenyon Green, who was 2, and then Zion Johnson was 1. But it was interesting seeing how bullish he was on Kennard. And I know the Eagles like Kennard. Now, the Eagles saw him as a tackle. They tried him a bit at guard. I think when Becton moved inside, they moved Kennard outside. He was on the team. I mean, he definitely has the frame, the length. So we'll see there. But I agree that the Eagles are going to address offensive tackle in this draft.
How about you? Do you feel differently based on Lane's comments?
Yeah, I do. Going into, last year, for instance, I thought it was going to be 1 or 2 years for Lane, right? Having multiple conversations with him this year, I kind of thought 2 years was going to be the time frame. For him to sign a deal through 2027, and I know he doesn't have to finish the deal, but I think 15 years is a round number that 50, or it's a benchmark number that he'd be able to hit. He'd probably be, if he even stays healthy for like 75%, 80% of those games, play the most games in franchise history. If he reaches that point. I know Lane he spoke today about legacy. He thinks about that. 3 more years added to his legacy will enhance it. He'd be almost a surefire Hall of Famer. And the other thing too, and he mentioned this today, and it's a poignant point, and I've heard him talk about it. Lane's an only child, and the locker room is a special place for him. Like he considers those players his brothers. And he has spoken about how he fears like life after football. He's been trying to figure out what it will look like. And I think part of why he keeps playing is he loves football. He loves being part of a team. This organization means a lot to him. This city means a lot to him. So I think Lane's going to try to stretch this out as long as he can go.
He has also talked about, he is now, like, it's a little bit lonely. Because
that was your question.
Yeah, like all those guys are gone. I mean, the Eagles have nobody over 30 on the team besides Jake Elliott, the long snapper, and Dallas Goedert, who might not even be here.
Yeah,
right. And so it's not a huge difference, but he is not he's not a young whippersnapper anymore. There's a bit of a distance between him and the rest of the guys in the room.
No, and he's joked, or I shouldn't even say joke. He's discussed this last year how like he kind of sits back in the room sometimes and he's like. He laughs like he doesn't know what they're talking about sometimes, right? And he's certainly at a different stage of his life than he was back then. But he has relationships that stretch across that locker room. He is the guy. I mean, Jalen Hurts is the franchise player, right? But Lane is in that locker room. He's like the OG now, so to speak.
There you go. What about Zack Baun? What was your main takeaway from Zack Baun? We'll get into a little bit more from Lane later, but
Zack Baun, the big takeaway is like how much he wanted to get that deal done before free agency. That he even told his agent like he wants to get this done quickly.
It was he answered this very well and very deftly. The question was like, what was it like, dealing with Howie and Nick and Vic Fangio in this process? And he said, "Oh well, I wouldn't say dealing with at all. I would say working with. Like they knew I wanted to be here. I knew they wanted me back. We just had to find the right number."
Exactly, and we discussed multiple times going into this the advantage of hitting the open market, the advantage for the team of keeping him off the open market, and it really seems like he had a number in mind and he wanted to get that deal done. He wanted to stay in Philly. You pointed it out well during the season, and then especially after cleanout day when you spoke to him, that he feels like there's another level for him to get at in this defense, and he acknowledged that,
which is hard to believe.
Yeah, it is. But he has only played it 1 year.
Yeah.
Right. And then, I was curious too, because how many times during the year or versions of questions or him hearing the Eagles don't value linebackers, right? It's like, was he curious about this? And he said he recalls walking in last year with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And now Saquon got that big deal, and he gets this contract.
They didn't even know he was a linebacker back then.
Yeah, seriously. And so he says it shows kind of the way how he's evolved. I think it shows that they value premium players, and he's a premium player.
Yeah, I think that's right. It is kind of like head spinning to think about how much his life has changed over the past year. I mean, they had a baby.
Yes.
You come in as sort of a guy being kicked around the league, is fighting for a roster spot, and a year later you won a Super Bowl, and now you're a $17 million a year player. Like, wow.
Yeah. And it's like, you can say not in his wildest dreams. Like he was confident. He said he didn't foresee that type of outcome. He had like one goal based on tackles that he told his assistant linebackers coach, and he hit it like mid-season. So yeah, I don't know if he can play better, but if they get 85% of that production, that's a great outcome.
What about Azeez Ojulari, who we also heard from this morning? Any takeaways from AO?
Just how close he is with the Georgia guys, which we obviously knew, and he acknowledges he needs to stay healthy. That seems to be the big impediment in his career. He talked about how he's a complete pass rusher. Like there's no part of his game that he can't do. Enjoyed talking to him, but I didn't get as much from him. I'm still trying to get to know him relative to the other guys.
Oh, jeez.
What?
Shots fired at the poor guy.
It's not shots fired. There's more context there's more institutional knowledge with Lane, certainly, and with Zack Baun. Part of this deal is knowing what to ask, right? And if you don't know the person, you don't know that's the old line about knowing where to put the X.
Where to put the X?
Yeah, have you heard this?
I don't think so.
It's a story about how someone gets called in and they have to fix something, and he gets a bill, and it's like $1 for the work, and then it was like a $500 bill, and it was asked to itemize it. And I'm paraphrasing here; the numbers are not exact, but it's like $5 for the work and $495 for knowing where to put the X. Right? It's like the expertise that goes into that, and so part of this job is knowing where to put the X.
Got it.
It's a famous story.
It must be.
It is. I don't want to get in all the details, but it is.
You know what? I'm not going to push.
Thank you. You see, you can grow too. I respect that.
Well,
sorry, I shouldn't say that. Okay.
Now you're making me want to push. This is not growth. This is just
okay.
How's NVIDIA doing?
How's NVIDIA doing?
Yeah, I saw some odious headlines.
I mean, the market itself has not been doing well. So I think NVIDIA among it. But I did hear a speech with Mark Cuban, or not a speech. He was at South by Southwest, which sounds like an awesome event to go to. Have you ever had interest in South by Southwest?
No.
All right. I mean,
I've been to Austin, but
a cool city, Austin.
Yeah, like in Austin.
I've always wanted to go to South by Southwest, but
yeah,
Mark Cuban.
That tracks.
Why?
Of course you have.
Well, I mean, because I like to learn. I like to expand my mind.
Yeah.
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 What tracks? I'm curious.
You like to be around the people who are selling things that don't exist.
I like to have my mind. I like to stimulate my mind. I like to, every day it's like, what did you learn? How did you? Yeah. So absolutely. If you put great thinkers in a room, that's a place I want to be.
Sure.
If you think you're the smartest person in the room, find a different room. That doesn't that tracks too. But I would say that so Mark Cuban.
Well, Julia's here. I shouldn't have walked in.
That tracks. So Mark Cuban.
No, we don't have to. Let's move on here.
Yeah. You can look up Mark Cuban South by Southwest to read his comments.
I want to get into all of the rule proposals later on from the league, but we should focus on just one at the top. And I mean, that is just like the continued whining from the Green Bay Packers, submitting an actual rule proposal to the league to ban the tush push and not just pushing offensive players, which if you wanted to make an argument for like the rules of the game that you shouldn't be allowed to push an offensive player, I think there is some reasoning behind that. But to focus so solely on only someone who takes the snap under center can't be pushed is so ridiculous and so crybaby. And it's probably not going to pass. It's going to get 24 votes. It is like deeply, deeply embarrassing for the Green Bay Packers.
So the part of this that I found, I'm pulling this up here because I have the league's all the league's proposals here, but it was based on health and safety, right? And from my understanding, this wasn't a safety hazard. This play based on the league's data.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't. I know you did the show about it where you were whining in the voice of.
I was just quoting him.
Just quoting him. So yeah, player safety. It doesn't strike me as something that is unsafe. I think that's more of, I don't want to say an old wives' tale, but the data doesn't back that up. I can understand, like, in theory, why one would have an objection to it, but to me, like, get better at it. And to the Packers' credit, they figured out a way to do that play well too.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, it strikes me. I don't think it's something that needs to be taken out of the game.
Yeah, it's just kind of embarrassing for them.
So what do you think of the Eagles' proposal, which is that the regular season overtime should mimic the postseason overtime?
In favor.
In favor, allowing both teams to get possession.
Yeah. Why not? Don't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
They have been pushing for that for a while. This is like the slow trickle of a long campaign for them to get
sure
this to
that
be
you see it in the postseason
overtime. Yes,
exactly. Look, I never object to more football.
I mean, I would object to more football if it was like we got.
It's a tough position for someone who does professional football.
Well, yeah,
for
but
a
what
living.
if they what if it was a 162 game season?
It'll be tough on the personal life, but
yeah.
I
think in this context, I never object to finding out who the rightful winner of the game is.
I remember Al Groh saying one time when the ACC was trying to accelerate the games, make the games go faster, shorten the games, and Al said, "We only play once a week. What's the rush?" Right? And I was like, Al, people are thinking about television, but no, I think an overtime game for fairness, I like I also like when there's more strategy involved in it, and there's strategy involved.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of that. The difference is that this would be in a 15-minute period. That would be the difference in the regular season, so there would still be ties. Whereas in
the
playoffs, you keep going.
No, right,
exactly.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I hope it does get passed. All right, now just like Al Groh said that, you could also make the case that you only get one life. So what's the rush? Let's take a little break to hear from our sponsors.
Good job there. Let me pull this up here. And I'm telling everyone about Timeline because I want to live longer, and I've talked about that. There's a lot of conferences I would like to attend, football I would like to watch, and the place that could help you live longer, or what could help you live longer, is Timeline. And as I pull this up here, not 312, we are at 319 today, and I want to live to see a lot of 319s. Okay. Timeline will help you do it. Timeline sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MitoPure ingredient. The cells in our bodies are the building blocks of life. Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. The patented ingredient is MitoPure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears our dysfunctional mitochondria, aka your cell's battery packs. This might sound like we're sitting in science class back in middle school with Mr. Wakeman, but you need to understand that with regular use, you'll see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, and more endurance, which helps you in a lot of different ways. MitoPure recharges your cells and helps your body's system work even better. It's the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. Get ready to be your best, most energized, most revitalized self. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY.
Zberm319 says, I just kicked your ass. Anyway, let's talk about our friends at Monarch Money. A lot of financial blind spots out there that whether you think you're aware of it, you may still succumb to. Like food delivery, like all the hidden fees in there. You know, if you go to the restaurant website, it might be a different price than going through an app. All these different things. Well, you're just trickling out money that you don't need to be trickling out. That's what Monarch Money is there for. Monarch Money is a way to start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. Monarch makes managing money simple, even for busy lives. With all of your accounts, credit cards, and investments in one place, you will always know where your money stands without the hassle. Track your spending, savings, and investment, all of them, effortlessly, so you can focus on what matters most, making your life the biggest goals possible. Monarch Money is the finance tool people actually love, named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. Financial stress is one of the top reasons relationships fall apart. Monarch makes money conversations easier. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. That's MONARCH. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY. All right. Are we good, Julia? Almost. Zach, where would you rank Brendan Quinn and the great writers around today?
Hey, he is incredible. Like everything he writes, I read. He has
gas the guy up.
He has such a unique voice. He's a terrific reporter, but as a writer, like it sings. And the best compliment I could give, I literally told this to someone recently. I said, I love college basketball, so it's not hard to sell me on that. I don't play golf. I don't know anything about golf. I read everything Brendan writes about golf, which I think speaks to like the writer that he is.
For my money, best in the game. Let's bring him on now. There he is. Big Q, how we doing?
Great. This picture's terrible. Hold on here. Let's see if we can make that. You guys keep going. If you want to keep talking about, such things, the writing sings. This video is awful.
Best videographer in the game. Still, still up for debate.
The amount of times I'm out walking my dog and listening to the pod, and if there is, a guest with any audio issue or anything like that, I'm like, oh, flabbergasted. And now here I am, just dragging you guys down.
Well, let's first, before we get to the college hoops of it all, give the Sickos who have heard you on the show before. They know that you are an Eagles fan, but if they are new, what was your Super Bowl experience like? How was this run for you?
So last Super Bowl, I live in Detroit, and I was already resigned to the fact that the Eagles were going to come to Detroit for the NFC Championship game and lose that game. I was okay with it. Then the Lions lose to Washington. Oh my God, they're going to go to the Super Bowl and blah blah blah. But so a couple years ago, when we were in the Super Bowl, I had a party at my house in Detroit and invited a bunch of people over. I made cheesesteaks, blah, blah, blah. And it is top 5 worst decision that's ever been made. Because when you're watching the game with a lot of non-Eagles fans, something bad would happen in the game. Everyone would then turn and look to me to see what the reaction is. Am I swearing? Am I throwing something? So I felt like I was under the under the lens the whole time. So this time I decided the opposite. Me, the dog, the lady, no one else, no one speaks. I watched the game and then told all of my friends, win or lose, there will be an open tab at Tony's after the game. And
That's well handled.
That was regrettable as well.
This one might have worked out given the way that the game went, but we're happy for you. Go ahead, Zach.
I'm curious, Brendan, from the Eagles' perspective here, like college basketball has a robust group of like Philly natives who are coaches around the sport. Golf, from reading some of your work or from reading all your work, there's some golfers who have these Philly roots. When you're out reporting, does your Eagles background, is there a kinship when you see some of these coaches on the trail and some of these golfers on the trail?
All roads lead back to Philly, no matter what. So I'm here in Providence. So Providence is, there's St. John's here, Kansas here, St. John's, McNeese State, et cetera, et cetera. But I spent my day. I was talking to Matt Brady for a half an hour earlier today. He's randomly an assistant at High Point, which I didn't know until I was sitting at a bar last night looking at their roster. And I've known Matt Brady since I was 8.
For the audience,
he's
the former St. Joe's assistant, and the former James Madison head coach.
Yeah, I mean, the audience for that anecdote is Zach. The sound that he made when you said Matt Brady, just guttural, like as if like you could have said you were having dinner with, like, I don't know, Beyonce or something like that, and you wouldn't have got the same reaction.
But I'm sorry, go on about Matt Brady. Yes.
But it's the same thing with everybody. Bruiser Flint's here. Bruiser Flint went to Episcopal, played at St. Joe's when my brother was there, and then he coached at Drexel for 1,000 years. And yeah, to your question, Zach, it's like there is that weird familiarity that I think kind of like transcends a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, you talk the same language. We talk the same language. Like, these people over here don't get it. We get it, and that's everywhere. Not as much in golf a little bit, but like, I'm so much more comfortable in gyms and around basketball people than around golf folks in general, who it can kind of be pretty miserable at some of these places. But, I got home this year. I had Cobb's Creek on my list of things to write about for a very long time.
A great story that everybody should read on The Athletic.
Finally, yeah, go subscribe. I finally got to it this year, and they're doing incredible stuff there. And there's a PGA Tour event in town this year. The Truist is being played at like Philly Cricket, I think, and so be in for that. But yeah, I love the Philly ties. I love being identified that way. I love that everyone asks me, how St. Joe's. I went to St. Joe's. My dad coached St. Joe's, and that's how I'm identified. And big NIT game tonight against UAB. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, my Demon Deacons thumbed their nose at the NIT. Oh, we're too good for the NIT. Give me a break.
I was going to call you out on that, actually. That
Take
was
your
on my
medicine,
list,
guys. Take your medicine. This is what you deserve.
That's what happens.
Now,
yeah.
I want to get on, but I do need to circle back because I know that if I was listening to this, I would be yelling at the host for not following up. What was the bar tab?
Oh, it's like $280 or something. And this is like the cheapest bar imaginable. Like, it's borderline impossible to spend $280.
Well, you would pay that to win the Super Bowl if that was the
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And that was also before tip.
So from an inside baseball journalism standpoint, I am curious about this. Did you get to choose Providence, or were you assigned Providence? Did you feel the call to Rick Pitino and John Calipari, and like this has BQ written all over it?
It's funny you say that, because I was just complaining to an editor recently. I'm like, what sucks about college basketball is that everything is about the coaches. Like, everything is the focus on the coaches. And then the NBA, it's all players. No one even knows who coaches, 25 of the teams, other than the very famous guys.
Correct.
College is the exact opposite. Outside of Cooper Flagg, Joe Blow knows nobody in college basketball. So I was complaining to an editor about that, and lo and behold, I get sent to Providence with John Calipari, okay. Bill Self, Will Wade in the house.
That's right.
John Calipari. Yeah. So I originally was going to go with UConn. I've done a lot on UConn.
Yeah, great story on Hurley recently.
And thank you. And I've been kind of fascinated by this like very broken pursuit of a three-peat that has just not gone well at all. And I find Hurley to be just a wild character. They get sent to Raleigh. They're going to play Florida in the second round. Like they might lose that game. Like Florida might score 1,000 points on UConn. And then Providence turned into this just, preposterous bracket. And if it weren't me coming up here, poor Ralph Russo would be completely solo for what could be just a complete marathon day tomorrow. So I'm here, happy with it. Got to see Matt Brady and Bruiser Flint, so that's perfect.
You got High Point Purdue to start things off. McNeese, Clemson. McNeese dropping the state all of a sudden. I'm not sure what's up with that.
Happened a few years ago. Yeah.
Happened a few years ago.
Yeah.
Arkansas.
I'm
Kansas.
anti this as well. I've been trying to get our editors to roll with the state to include it.
Yeah.
And there has been pushback. The Times is not having it.
A man can only take so much.
Seems more prestigious without the state.
Yeah, I guess that's probably right. And then you close with Omaha St. John's. You wrote about St. John's over the weekend and Pitino. And I know that there's a lot of jokes to make about Pitino. It is a fascinating story, the way that he has turned that program around.
We don't have a lot of time. Let's hurry up with this.
Well, that's my question is, did you at least consider the possibility of just filing a story that was 15 words long?
I see what you did there. No. I'm barely getting started at about 400 words in. So as I think you guys probably know, I'm a little wordy, as they say. No, but there's something to be said for a 15-word story. There's something to be said for a 2-minute podcast.
That's true.
Or an hour podcast.
I wouldn't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or one that ends when we're contractually
who was the
obligated to
signing?
end, yeah.
Who was the signing that got the?
Oh, Lou Nichols. We got a Lou Nichols fan.
So Bo, I was driving. I haven't told you the story yet. I was driving, and I was listening to probably this show, and it just auto played the next one, right? And it was that. So it just comes up on my like on the digital screen on the rental car, and it's PHLY pod breaking news. I'm like, holy, this is major stuff. And then you got me pretty good there. I was in on the bit though.
That's
exactly
how
me
it,
too.
how it should have landed.
And I'm a co-host, but me too. I'm curious, for the uninitiated here, for people who are just getting involved in the NCAA tournament, who are Eagles fans, I'm putting you on the spot here. Who's like which coach would you say is the Nick Sirianni of the NCAA tournament, and which player is like the Jalen Hurts of the NCAA tournament? If we can deal with, I know I'm putting you on the spot, so maybe Sirianni, because college basketball is a coach's game. But who's the one who people are watching and they're like, that reminds me of Nick Sirianni?
Okay. Jalen Hurts is going to be tough.
Yeah, we can stay away from
Here,
let's go fix gotta be Hurley, right? They're both just absolutely out of their minds on the sideline.
Hurley, I think, has more self-awareness than Sirianni.
Okay.
The guy I would say is Pat Kelsey, who's the head coach of Louisville.
Yeah.
Who is
the one who got away for Wake Forest fans.
Absolutely. Total wild man. And sometimes it seems like a shtick, and you're like, that's got to be a shtick. And then you talk to him, and you're like, oh my Lord, this is actually the way that this man functions in general. But he also wins, and Sirianni wins. Like I've been out on Sirianni for basically ever. And then they just now they're winning Super Bowls. So I guess I'm back in, but I get a lot of, cause I think I'm very, level-headed in pretty much everything else. Like all my other sports takes are very, very boring. But like I had Nick fired after week 3. I had him fired on the bye. I had him fired after week 7. And all the other reporters are like, it's a good thing you're not like a columnist from back in the day, because this would there'd be a lot of receipts. Let's put it that way.
Who's the Vic Fangio, if I can ask you that? Who's like the curmudgeonly old coach who has his chance of glory here?
This is a layup. Tom Izzo.
Okay, I like that.
That's a good one.
Tom won a national championship in 2000
Yeah, Mateen Cleaves.
with the Flintstones, Mateen Cleaves, and all those guys. It was long enough that the best freshman on that team, Jason Richardson, has a son who was a freshman on this Michigan State team, and is their best player, is certainly the best pro prospect on the team. But it would be something if this Michigan State team could do it, because kind of the same way that Fangio builds his defense his own way, Izzo very much has kind of built Michigan State in his own image. This team, it's not transfer portal heavy. It's older. They run kind of like what's archaic stuff in a lot of ways, where like we're in the age of shot quality and all this stuff. You want to see shots at the rim. You want to see 3-pointers. Then you look at a shot chart from like Michigan State. Actually, a lot of the old men, like Patino is the same way. Kelvin Sampson's the same way. Their shot charts look like a spray. It's mid-range shots, it's runners, it's floaters, it's that's kind of how they do it, because they coach to what their teams can do, not what they want them to be on a computer screen. And a Philly tie-in just for you, Zach. Michigan State is opening the tournament against Bryant, who is coached by
Phil Martelli's son.
Jr.
Yep.
Phil Martelli Jr. Yes.
Yep.
So all roads go back home, always.
That's good. Jason Richardson's son, of course, Jason Richardson's son.
There you go.
I want to, because you made the point, which I think is a very trenchant point, that in college basketball, the focus is rarely on the players. It is always on the coaches. Who are some players who might, make a moment for themselves and will be really fun to watch for the layman fan these next couple weeks?
Yeah, I think it's funny bringing up don't like St. John's because they don't like Pitino, but the team itself is extremely likable. Named Kadari Richmond, who is just an absolute dog. Like, he is just tougher than hell. He can't shoot. He's made 7 threes all year. Doesn't matter. He still, he gets his, he finds a way. He's super throwback. He's fascinating to talk to. I'm actually going to talk to him in about 20 minutes, and I'm looking forward to that. But he's just awesome. He's really awesome. They play, I think the best defense in the country, but he's kind of the head of the snake for that whole thing. Other guys that Philly fans would kind of identify with, Zakai Ziegler, I could see. He's a point guard at Tennessee, and he's another guy who just, if you see him on the court and you just don't think anything of him really, but he kind of has that tenacious side to him, and also the leader of one of the best in the country. I brought up Jason Richardson. He is worth watching. He's going to be a pro. He's going to be a top 20 pick at some point, but he's got that really smooth kind of in between. He does not have his dad's hops. So if you're expecting to watch Richardson and see a guy, throwing down alley-oops the way Jason Richardson was back in the day, that's not his game. He is 6'3", 6'7" wingspan. It's like he can back guys down kind of the way Jalen Brunson used to do for Villanova. And just has a really smooth all-around game. Villanova, who are they going to hire?
Chris Collins? Is that who? The suspense.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. There's buzz. I don't know who they're going to hire. There's buzz around Mick Cronin now.
Okay.
Oh.
There's some buzz around Richard Pitino. Interesting all the way around. Yeah, it will not be Will Wade. I will say that.
What about Martelli Jr.? That would be tough.
That would be the all-time plot twist.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, BQ, we look forward to it. This is your month. We can't wait to read everything you write over the next couple weeks. And then are you also making it to the Masters from the tournament?
Yes.
Oh, baby.
Next week, I'll probably be in Atlanta for regionals, and then I'll go to the Final Four in San Antonio and go directly from San Antonio to Augusta via Hartsfield Airport. It's so built. Jim Nance did it for years. The difference from Delport. So forward to it. It is like I'm wildly fortunate for, a guy who barely graduated from St. Joe's Prep, barely graduated from St. Joe's U. It's the best job in the world. So wildly lucky.
We look forward to
sentiment
reading all of it. Brendan Quinn, thank you so much. All right. And we will take a quick break to hear from our sponsors before we get into the rest of the episode. Uh-oh, something weird. Something weird is happening. But something weird is not happening at 8th and Chestnut. Something wonderful is happening at 8th and Chestnut. Something that will make your life whole. For the past 30 years, Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia. Customers from Pennsylvania, from New Jersey, even as far away as Baltimore and New York City, they come to Golden Nugget Jewelers, to find the perfect engagement ring or wedding band. The staff there is so highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. They have a vast selection of engagement rings and wedding bands, along with high-end watches, fashion jewelry, and sparkling diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. You also receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Golden Nugget Jewelers has been family-owned and operated since 1987, right there on 8th and Chestnut in downtown Philly. This is the biggest purchase you're going to make in your life. You need to go to the experts. Go to Golden Nugget Jewelers. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more.
I mentioned earlier science class growing up, and that was in Fort Washington. And if you want a credit union that's headquartered right here in the Philly area in Fort Washington, it's TrueMark Financial Credit Union. I love driving around and seeing TrueMarks because, look, I know it's local. I know you're not getting somewhere that just is putting satellite offices here. You're getting true Philly area financial credit union. It's almost spring, a few days away here, and that means it's time to spring in the savings. We have spring weather right now. If you have financial goals, whether it's buying a house, taking that dream vacation, building your financial emergency fund, or maybe betting on the NCAA tournament, TrueMark Financial Credit has the perfect savings account for you. TrueMark Financial offers high-rate certificates and money market accounts that help your money grow faster and work harder. Visit TrueMark.com for rates to learn more. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCAA, equal opportunity lender. Rates are subject to change.
All right, so Zach, the Sickos will remember a year ago, you were pounding the table for those Kentucky Wildcats.
Yeah, I was
Didn't
wrong
work
on
out
that.
so well. How are we feeling this year?
Yeah, I was wrong on that one for sure. I admit I haven't watched as much college basketball this year as I have in years past. So
This doesn't have to be an apology.
No, but look, if I say something, I don't like. It always bothered me. It always bothered me. Listening to sports talk radio growing up, where like you knew the person had no idea what was going on, and they were just kind of filling the time. Right?
Yeah, but that bothers me if they're acting like an expert about it. I think if they're honest about the fact that they don't know and this is just the way that they feel, then that's okay.
So I've watched some. Look, the best team I've watched this year is Duke, which isn't a stretch. They're the number 2 seed, right? Or like the number 2 overall seed. Florida's really good. Of course, they score the ball really well. But Duke, everyone is over 6'5" in their starting lineup. Cooper Flagg's the best. He's gonna be the number 1 pick. They can protect the rim. But they are young. And the team that I like the most, the team that I'm picking to win it all, and again, I've watched them 4 times maybe, so it's not like 30 games that I've seen. Houston. Houston, I thought was as good as there was last year. You got the key player got hurt. That affected them in the tournament. They lost to Duke. What was this, Sweet 16? And Houston's healthy going into this. They have that transfer from Oklahoma. I'm not going to pronounce his name well right now, but he's really come on during these like, there's a difference when you watch them now and you watch them earlier this year. They're a veteran-laden team. Everyone's like 5, 6, 5 years on that team. They defend so well. They shoot the three. The one thing they don't really have is they don't have a lot of height, right? But everyone in their lineup is like between it seems like 6'4" and 6'8", and they switch and they play. So I'm picking Houston. They'll win it all. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a year when I don't want to say chalk, but like, I think the best teams in the SEC are so good. Your Florida's, your Tennessee's.
Yeah, 14 teams is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, but
it's
a super conference.
But it's stupid. Like the self-perpetuating cycle of the metrics when these conferences get loaded. Like, I'm sorry, if you're 14th in the conference, you don't deserve to make the tournament.
Well,
cut it off at 10.
But so this is the thing.
This is a very old man cranky.
But if we're having an honest
take.
conversation about it, this is like the residual effect from my perspective of NIL, which is the football schools, the traditional football schools, have so much money. Okay.
Yeah.
And their donors are so powerful that they pay. They're able to pay to bring in good players, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But I just from a very basic fan standpoint, if you can't finish in the top 10 in your conference, get out. Now, and this happens with the ACC all the time. Like, I knew North Carolina was going to roll last night. I am not even saying North Carolina deserved to be in the tournament. But every year, it's like, the number 3 team in the ACC is like a 7 seed, and they're gonna go to the Elite 8. Meanwhile, the Mountain West is getting 5 teams in, and Mark Murphy, like, give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, I think in football and in basketball, I would just go with the Chip Kelly plan, basically.
Long arms, long levers, or strong levers?
Long levers, strong levers. No, what I would do, like, if we're having a conversation about college football, and you can extend this to college basketball, is I would just not have conferences. I would just have your big super league, basically. And then, because you should have conferences in every other sport. Like, there's no reason why Temple, pick a non-rev sport.
I feel like I can get on board with that in football, but not basketball.
Maybe not, but I mean, definitely football. But even in basketball too, because the SEC and the Big Ten have really created such a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ACC, which was the best conference when we grew up, they're weak right now. Because they don't play the NIL, right? And some of these traditional powers are struggling. Now, it will rebound.
But I also think there is something to, like, when there's something about the metrics, right? Where if the conference gets to a certain level, it's like this self-perpetuating thing where like everybody gets lifted up, and they're sort of gaming the system a little bit. That's sort of what I object to. I think you make a very good point about the NIL, though.
Yeah, it's like if you have money, and then you're able to get players, and also the other big difference too is because of the portal. I saw Rick Pitino had a quote, and I don't disagree with him on this. Rick Pitino's like, I'm not going to recruit any high school players. I'm not going to recruit any, like, even if the number 1 player in the country wants to come play for me, he's just going to get guys who are, 3rd, 4-year guy, 3rd-year guys, 4-year guys, transfer in. You have a better sense of how they are. They're 3-4 years older than other guys.
It is a bummer.
I mean, no, but
I'm happy because
I'm for
they're all
pro
getting
player.
paid.
Yeah, pro player.
But it is just from a fan standpoint, it is kind of a bummer. Like,
yeah,
you're not going to get a guy to be there for 3 years.
And I would say, like, you should have contracts, but then the flip side of that is, look, the coaches don't have the coach portal is always open, as Jay Billis says.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Darian DeVries just leaves West Virginia to go to Indiana. So it's just it's the reality of the sport, and I think the coaches that do it well are the coaches who can navigate around it. And Duke, by the way, has shown that you can win with freshmen. But I like Houston just because they're such a tough team.
All right, I got to go through my bracket tonight. I have no official pick to make. Do
you watch a lot of ACC because of Wake?
No, I watch almost every Wake game that I can, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, so I'll say this because I know you.
I love college basketball. Growing up, it was my second favorite sport, and I would love to, like, go back to that one day and soak it all in, but I haven't made time for it.
I know you're gonna roll your eye. Like I grew up. Hate's a strong word. Strongly disliking Duke. I couldn't stand Duke growing up. Right. And even when I was covering these, like you're completely objective, but like Duke, Duke would be kind of the way they played. They would get all the calls. Like it worked out. I would say this Duke team is more likable, I feel like, than some of those Duke teams of the past.
Intellectually, I can understand that, but there's just,
it's
no
the,
chance.
It's the laundry that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fair. That's fair.
They could be all sickos of this podcast, and I could love everything about them on paper, but I would still hope that they lose in the first round by 100 points and break all their knees.
Because I know there's like that prototype of like the Duke white guy that people can't stand. Like Cooper Flagg is, I find him to be like he's a very likable player to watch. Like he plays the game gracefully.
I don't agree with that. The one, I mean, there's something to like when the guy is like so much longer limbed than everybody on the floor that I don't find graceful. But
like he moves well. He's
a great player.
He's great on defense. Like he attacks the rim. I find he doesn't like complain all the time.
Okay, I could be sold on that.
Yeah. So I find Cooper Flagg to be like a different type of player than some who've probably graded on both of us in the past.
Okay. All right. The other rule changes I want to circle back to. Two proposals from the Lions that I think the professor Dainese is going to really like, and one of them in particular I love. The other I would like to think about a little bit more. One is eliminating an automatic first down for defensive holding and illegal contact penalties. 100% yes.
So I was 100% yes on this until I saw, and I'll credit Warren Sharp, I believe had it. So the Lions proposed this, and the Lions have like 2x the amount of defensive holdings that other teams do. So it's like they coach this way, and so teams might use this to their advantage, right? But yeah, I agree with you. I never like
it's just the penalty never fits the crime, right? On 3rd and 15,
and it's
there's an illegal contact,
and it's automatic first. I don't like when a 5-yard penalty is automatic first down. I agree with that.
Yeah, but that is interesting about the Lions,
because you always heard that about like the Seahawks,
yeah.
and when I saw those numbers, I was like, wow, this.
It's just that, I mean, this is not a particularly novel thing to say, but so many of the rules are weighted towards the offense. Like,
sure,
they don't deserve this freebie necessarily. Like, call the penalty, give them the 5 yards, but yeah, I mean, automatic first down. I am on board with that one.
What's your view on pass interference, by the way? Do you like that it's a spot foul?
Yeah, I think
because like intellectually, I understand it. You don't want to just be able to drag the guy down, but it's also
like, and it's tough because if it's a 40-yard play, a 15-yard penalty doesn't feel right either. So I think I am probably okay with the spot foul. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the lesser. I understand why there is, but there are sometimes when it's like a 3rd down, the quarterback throws the ball up.
Right, it's underthrown. He's coming back to the ball,
and it's like a bailout penalty at times.
Yeah. The other proposal from Detroit, I'm curious what you think of this one, Zach. Playoff seeding would just go straight by record. You would still get into the playoffs by winning your division. And I think all ties would be broken by going to the division winner. But for instance, last year when the NFC North had all those, teams with high records, it would change the seeding. How do you feel about that?
I get it. And
I think this is one that Dainese likes.
And we all remember like the 7-9 Seahawks getting in. They beat the Rams on that Sunday night game, Bradford's rookie year.
They would still get in. They just wouldn't be the 4th
Yeah, but
seed,
I like rewarding the division champions. Like I'm fine with that. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I like the concept of rewarding division champs, but I do think there is an imbalance if you're a 13-win team and because you didn't win your division, you have to go, because it's already baked into the seeding, right? So,
yeah, I think that I'm on board with this, but I'm not willing to ZB pound the table on it yet.
Okay, tell me when.
I think it would be important that any tie would go to the division winner, whether they beat them head to head or not.
What's the rule change you would propose?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Do you have one in mind?
Well, we've discussed this in the past, but
Okay.
you
I think I
joked,
have one, but
the Labor Day, the President's Day, but no,
that's the rule proposal?
no. Well, because I would do it even before adding the 18th game. I would give teams 2 buys. I think that your inventory you make your money based on TV. You have another week of TV inventory. I think it benefits the players to get the extra buy. I actually think what I would do is one of those buys. I would have one regular buy and one buy preceding a Thursday game, so that you're not playing on the short week. So that so that's what I would institute, is make it add an extra week to the season and give teams the second bye and go into your Thursday game with extra time, and then you have extra time coming off that Thursday game. So one of the buys going into Thursday, and then one of the buys is the regular buy where you get the full weekend off, or you get the full week off. That's something I would do. And then the other thing I would do too is, and I've said this in the past, I would eliminate inactives. I think you're at a point now where the inactive rule hasn't evolved with the IR rules, that there are fewer times now where teams can't field a healthy roster. You've evolved the practice squad. You've evolved the IR. I would get rid of inactives. I think if you're on the active roster, you should be able to play in the game.
I think there's an unintended competitive advantage to teams who are healthier that you're trying to mitigate with inactives. I mean, I know that you have the IR rules, but if you've got a bunch of guys with 2-week injuries, should you really are you trying to reward the healthier teams?
Well, so how about this? Okay, I hear what you're saying. I would change the practice squad elevation to I would make it a taxi squad, basically, so that if a player's declared out, or if a player doesn't play in the game, you can promote someone from the practice squad in his place.
So it's basically the same thing. You would just change the number.
Yes, so that you have 53 players are playing in the game.
Okay.
You have 53 players playing in the game, and if a guy can't play, if a guy's not healthy, you can bring someone up from the practice squad.
So basically unlimited practice squad elevations.
Yes.
And 53.
Yeah, and contractually you can have it the same framework that you can only be elevated 2 times, but you are allowed to elevate guys from the practice squad to fill spots on the roster. But you do it for injured players. And yeah, I like the idea. I don't like the idea of healthy scratches.
Okay. You don't like the feely, essentially.
I like the bit, but from the player's perspective, I think you should play.
My low-hanging fruit is delay of game. It's just it's a horn. There's no looking at this to snap the ball. If the ball is not snapped and the horn goes off at 0, whatever it is, it's a delay of game. None of this.
How do you enforce it in a loud
adjudication.
stadium?
Well, maybe there's a light that goes on too.
Yeah,
or it comes from above. No middle ground in did they get it off? No, there's a clock.
Yeah.
Did you snap it or not?
Yes.
Let us know what your favorite rule change would. What would you propose, you sickos in the chat? You sick sickos. What would you propose? We got a direct line to the commissioner here. He's going to be at the owners' meetings in 2 weeks. He's going to go up to Roger and he's going to say, Poo Ragu suggests.
Could you imagine that? I see that at the reception. By the way, Roger, Poo Ragu suggests.
My buddy Poo Ragu made a great point the other day. He said that you probably shouldn't make all this money. Eagles are also involved. This is a fun one when there are 7 teams involved in the proposal to permit clubs to prepare the kicking balls before game day, similar to the process permitted for game footballs. Yeah. This must be one where in the equipment manager group chat around the league, they've been whining about this forever and we gotta get this changed. Good for them. Yeah. Good uprising. I like that. I would have never thought that was a thing that was sticking in their craw. Good to know.
That's the great thing about equipment managers. They deal with a lot of things.
That's the great thing about equipment managers. They deal with a lot of things.
They deal with a lot that goes beyond the eye. How about that?
Speaking of the Eagles' other proposal, their proposal to change the rules of overtime, Zach.
Good transition here.
We're about to go to overtime. The conversation continues online at allphly.com. Bada bing, bada boom. Anything else from the rule proposals? That was interesting. Pittsburgh, this is a weird one. It feels like they've just been left behind on this one. They want to make sure that you're allowed to get in contact with a potential free agent to just arrange travel in the case of free agency when the window opens.
They want those visits, man. What
the heck?
They want you to see their facility, which, by the way, they share with you.
Yeah, this proposal is backed by the Pittsburgh tourist industry.
Yeah, which the irony to that is Najee Harris signs with the Chargers, and it was like, this facility here is amazing compared to what he had before.
That's a good point. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, not as sexy as in years past.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, from the Eagles' perspective, there was always, for a few years there, the alternate helmet, which would lead to Kelly Green.
Oh, yeah. That's sexy.
I would, by the way,
Yeah, you would.
loosen up the jersey rules. And like I know some NBA fans disagree with me. I like that you wear different jerseys for all these games. I think it's cool. I would, if you want to wear Kelly Green, if you want to wear black, be able to wear it more often. I don't think it has to be so rigid.
Mm.
The same way, like, people were up in arms about the numbers. I think it's fine.
Which numbers?
Like how players can wear different numbers.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bummer if you buy your kid a jersey and they change the number, but
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I don't have a strong opinion on the jerseys.
I do like, as I see, Polar. I like the Eagles'
What do we
proposal.
got in the chat here?
Well, I like the proposal about the onside kicks that the Eagles have had in the past, which isn't on there this year. Interestingly.
Yeah, interesting. They backed off.
But I would like a fourth and 25 play, basically, or fourth and 20 play.
20. Yeah.
Fourth and 20 play.
It was like
to try to
18
keep
or
it.
something like that.
I like that.
Find the right. Yeah, I think that would be more fun than the neutered onside kick that we have now. Let's see. Player 1 suggests if you can successfully pants the quarterback while he has the ball, it's a turnover. What do you think about that one? That could be sexy.
Yeah, I don't like that one. Let's keep pants on.
Okay. What else we got? I see pudding or ice cream, and I don't know what that is in relation to.
I think they're having a chat among themselves, perhaps. Are you a pudding or ice cream guy?
Ice cream.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
What's sexier to you, pudding or ice cream?
I don't know about sexy. I prefer eating
Is
ice cream.
ice cream, I believe we've asked this before. Ice cream is not your number one dessert. Cookies are your number one dessert. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, cookies are more versatile, I feel like. Right?
Okay.
But ice cream, I love ice cream.
Give me your dessert Rushmore.
Cookies, cake, ice cream, water ice. How about that?
Okay. I mean, you were a devoted, proud sweet tooth. I thought.
But you know
might
what,
have
though?
a
This is what I'm
deeper
saying.
thought here.
I've actually had this. Emily brings this up to me because I don't like fancy desserts. Right?
Oh, okay.
Like give me my favorite dessert is the pizookie is the soft bake.
Okay.
The soft baked chocolate
The
chip
skillet,
cookie,
the skillet
cookie
warm cookie
with the vanilla
with
ice cream on the top.
Yeah.
Give that to me any day of the week. That's my favorite.
Well, that's good news for the receptionist, whatever hotel you're staying at.
That is true.
So let's get more specific then. If it's cookie, ice cream, cake, water ice, give me the specific type of each of those. That is your ace.
We don't need to extend the show, by the way. We're already in overtime.
I want to know.
Okay. A soft baked chocolate
so
cookie.
the pizookie will take the place of the cookie.
Yes.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
My favorite ice cream flavor, I mean, it had always been cookies and cream, but I'm really in a like graham slam kick right now. I'm loving that ice cream.
Okay. Now, how about cake? What's your favorite kind of cake?
Cake has always been the shadow cake from Brendan Beck's in Chestnut Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good specific one.
Yeah, it's real. If you've ever been to Brendan Beck's in Chestnut Hill, you know what's up.
And then what was the last one? Water ice. What's your favorite?
Water ice.
Flavor?
I mean, you go to John's, you get whatever the fresh, whatever.
Oh yes, we disagree about this. You like the bits of fruit.
I like the bits of fruit. John's watermelon's really good. That's a good one. But I mean, if I had like the one that you can't fail with is cherry. I love a cherry and a mango. Okay. But yeah, John's is my favorite water ice.
I see a real proposal. Add loss of down to offensive holding. That's interesting.
Okay, I like that.
Here's my statistical proposal, which we've talked about before. Intentional grounding counts as a sack.
I like that.
For the player.
Does pass interference count as receiving yards?
No.
Okay, but intentional grounding counts as a sack.
Yes. I mean,
It's the same
but
concept,
it is
though.
the exact same result.
So is the
So it
pass
should-
interference, though.
Yeah, but I think it's there's more discrepancy there, and they're getting enough
Okay.
wide receivers. Yeah. Let's help out the defensive players a little bit. Okay. Anything else we need to circle back on? Anything else from Lane Johnson or Zack Baun that you wanted to touch on?
Lane Johnson really did. He has a relationship with Kenyon Green. He knew Kenyon Green a few years ago. Didn't
Texas
really,
boys.
yeah, didn't really have a dog in the fight, so to speak, at right guard. He likes the way Tyler Steen's developed. He said whoever he's out there with, he'll be confident in. He's confident in Jeff Stoutland.
Eagles have a reported visit out for an offensive lineman, a big fella, Belton from
Anthony
NC
Belton.
State. We'll talk about that with Fran on the show tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to that. An older guy, actually. So he might be older than Kenyon Green. One of these guys who the age isn't out there yet, but he was in the same high school class as Kenyon Green. But yeah, big guy here.
Well, Zach, I'm very glad you brought that up because is it always an interesting thing when a player is drafted after someone else, but is actually older than them on the same team. And that happens to be the case with the Philadelphia Eagles. Keely Ringo, believe it or not, is actually younger than Quinyon Mitchell.
Well done. Well done. Any super chats?
We do have a super chat from JN717 who says, "Thank you, Zach, for coming to the Bala Kinwood Library a few weeks ago. Already had your books, but wanted to support your work and the pod as a longtime sicko."
And great
Amen to
contribution
that.
here. Look at that, $20. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your support of the show. I have an event coming up in Doylestown in May. I'll be there with Mike Sealski.
Nice.
You can make sure you check that out. But yes,
That's the next one in May?
I have a few private ones in between then. But the next public one is in May.
Baby.
No,
You get paid more for the private ones?
I
Probably.
hope there's not a joke here. Depends. Like, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, the ones where you can sell when you can sell books yourself, are more lucrative
I see.
because you get the margin on the book. Whereas,
Gotcha.
now if the bookstore sells it, it's great for the book. I want to support local bookstores, but you're getting your royalty in that case.
Okay.
Whereas if you sell the book that you have, you get the margin on the book.
Can I ask you a theoretical question?
Yes.
Having been through this process twice now,
Yeah.
writing the book, selling the book, knowing all the financials, how would that inform, in theory, if you were to write another book, the kinds of things that you would want in a contract as an author?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm different than some other people here in that, like, I want to be incentivized on the book doing well,
Okay.
right? Because, and now look, it's different if it's your full-time job, right? If it's your full-time job and you need, you're spending a year writing a book,
Mhm.
right? You need the assurance of the advance. Like I respect that, right? But if it's not your full-time job, like you want to maximize the potential that, like, if the book sells X amount of copies, you're doing well. So in that case, royalties is beneficial, but everyone has their own thing. Honestly, it's like, for me, it's the challenge, it's the opportunity, it's the excitement.
Pressure's your privilege.
Pressure's a privilege. And I was saying too, I was texting with someone about this the other day. I was like, there's vanity involved here too. Like, I'm not going to lie. When my son brings in he brings my book into school for show and tell, like, that's the coolest thing. And
That's great.
that is so cool. And so, yeah, there's, I had a debate with a reporter who's like a friend of mine one time. He's a close friend of mine, but he said, like, he doesn't care what anyone thinks of his articles. And I was like, don't put your name on top then, right? You put your name on top, it's because you want people to be like, I bust my butt on something. Like, the reason my name's on the book is because I want people to read it, right? So, so I feel, so there is, I mean, I'm not going to be totally modest. There's vanity involved in writing a book. You feel like you have a story to tell and you want someone to read it and enjoy it.
I think there's some middle ground in that debate with whoever that was, where it's not about you wanting people to read it or not. You put your name on it because you're the one who wrote it and you're responsible for it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you need to care what the response to it is.
Yeah, I don't know. You like if you to use the pizza shop analogy, if you want people to enjoy the pizza you make, right? Like if you just make pizza and they don't like it, it's an art.
Well, Zach, in the wise words of Brandon Graham,
Yes,
you're never going to be able to please everybody, so stop trying.
that is true. The first part's true. I'm not totally on board yet with the second part.
But you do understand intellectually that it is impossible.
Oh,
to
I
please
understand that.
everybody.
Absolutely. And that's why I think if we're getting deep here and we're
deep in
70 minutes
overtime,
into the
baby,
show, why not?
Overtime goes 15 minutes. Remember
Yeah,
that.
so I think one needs to have his or her own constitution, right? And his or her own moral compass. And like you're guided by that, or your own like sense of integrity, and you're guided by that. Like you're not going to please everyone, but if you feel like you're doing the right thing at all times, then like that's how you need to be guided.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm proud with that.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody in the back? All right.
So tomorrow, exciting show because we have.
Well,
Fran
first of all, we got the PHLY draft show with Fran Duffy coming up at noon tomorrow. Excited about this show. We're going to go through some of the outliers in this draft class on offense, and haven't gone through this over the past couple of days. I got to say, it does make me wary about this draft class as a whole. I know that is already a known thing, but like woof on some of the things on these early round picks. Going to unpack that with Fran on the show at noon tomorrow. Please do join us for that. And then at 2:00, we'll be talking birds with Fran in the studio, a three-hander, if you will. And we'll talk
if
about...
you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And, we'll see what he thinks about sexy real proposals.
I never asked you, when's your baseball auction?
Friday.
Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
NL only. Very pitcher heavy right now. We've got a lot of good, cheap pitching with some foresight, but I feel like we might want to try to flip one so we can have a little room to spend there and fill out the offense.
Yeah.
How about you?
Saturday.
Nice.
And I was deep in pitching, and I flipped them for some upside bats.
Okay.
I don't trust arms, and I had to extend them on contracts. So
Okay.
so I flipped it for, me. I like upside players who I feel like I'm buying low on. Former top prospects I felt like I got a discount on Jackson Holiday.
Okay.
And I made a huge.
Good bet, I feel.
I traded some key players to get them, like some real valuable pitchers. But to me, I'm in a league with 3-year contracts, and then you can extend the contracts.
Yeah.
And Jackson Holiday's going in the year 2 of his contract, and so I was like, all right, this is a worthwhile bet for me.
This is the whole league.
This is the whole league. Yeah, 16-team league, 25 player roster, 4 minor leaguers.
Okay. We had our farm draft yesterday.
Mine's after the auction.
We added one player.
Who'd you add?
Well, Chase Burns, baby.
Okay, go Deeks.
I mean, what a.
Not worried about the ballpark?
You could not have a better name for a pitcher.
Chase Burns. I like that. Not worried about the ballpark?
I'm not unworried about the ballpark. He wasn't number one on our pref list, but
is it first year player draft, or is it just any prospect who's unprotected?
Any prospect.
Gotcha. Who went number one?
You already have rosters, so it depends if you have an open spot. So we promoted Matt Shaw, we promoted Rhett Lauder, and we added
Chase Burns.
The people who got picked ahead of him were Bubba Chandler.
Okay.
The first baseman for the Giants.
Bryce
Eldridge.
Yeah, for Northern Virginia, 6'7".
Shout out to Ben Harris, Jesus Made.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I was hoping to get.
He's like 17.
He's like 17 years old, but he could be the best player in baseball in 3 years. And then one other pitcher went ahead.
What's the team? If you tell me the team,
I can't remember who it was.
Okay,
let's see if I can scrounge it up. It was
compelling content, right?
This is great. Here we go. Brandon Sproat from the Mets.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, there you go. I was happy to have Burns over Sproat. Some gas.
I would want Burns too.
Yeah. Who do you have on your minor league team?
Right now, I have Walker Jenkins from last year, and I have Spencer Jones, and then I have 2 picks in our prospect draft that gives me 4 minor leaguers.
Okay. Man, there are going to be some Eagles fans who are going to be like, what the hell was this episode? We had college basketball, we got minor league baseball.
Good thing we do this every day. The last 2 weeks, I was looking at, we had something like 16 shows, 17 shows.
Yeah.
So there's no shortage of Eagles content.
I know
And
that's
by
right.
the way, read all PHLY.com. I wrote a column last night on Brendan Graham.
Please do
Check
read
it
that. Zach did a very good job with that column. All of the full career reflective expertise and insight Zach brought to yesterday's episode, he brought to that column. So check that out on allphly.com. And also, good chance to just catch up on all that draft content with Fran Duffy, which we're going to talk about on the show tomorrow. So please join us for that. 15 minutes overtime on the dot. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Brendan Quinn. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Sickos. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.